Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna. So we were discussing the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the most confidential knowledge. We are in Sloka number 7. Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpado Vishrajamyaham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Purport: the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material cosmic manifestation are completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. At the end of the millennium means at the death of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years, and his one day is calculated as 430. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 430 or 43 crore of years, or 430 crore of years of our earthly years. His night is of the same duration. His month consists of 30 days and nights, and this year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in Himself. Then again, when there is a need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by His will. Bahushyam, although I am one, I shall become many. So this is a Vedic aphorism, Chandogya Upanishad. He expands himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. So this we have studied in Bhagavatam also, that how all the material energy, all the energy comes from the Lord, and then at the time of annihilation, everything becomes again merged into the body of the Lord, and then again the new creation, he again unleashes his energy. Text 8. Prakritim swama vishtabhya vishrajami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakrither vashat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. Purport: this material world is a manifestation of the inferior energy of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahat Tattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes. And into each universe, the Lord again enters as Karbadakashayi Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Shirodakashayi Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature, and as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Right? So this is a major misconceptions people have, especially our science books, that they talk about a gradual evolution. So, but here we see that everything is evolved at one point in time, simultaneously. So all the species of life were there right from the beginning of creation. Right? So the different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham. that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again. And all this is done simply by His will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after creating different species of life, He has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. And so, in this way, like the creation actually starts, and the Lord enters into every single thing in the creation. Okay. Nacha mam tani karmani niban niban निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवद् आसीनं ashaktam teshu karmashu. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. So the Lord is completely neutral. Sometimes people ask why the Lord is favoring this person, why the Lord is not favoring me, why this is happening, and things like that. So the Lord is saying that no, I am not part of anything. No, basically, whatever karma we generate, so we just go through the whole thing. The Lord never takes sides of anybody, right? So in the material activities, in the material things, Lord never takes sides of anything. Sometimes people ask like why there are so many people, no, poor people are suffering and things like that. So Lord doesn't take any this one. You have committed a sin, no, you are going through it, so it's okay. Like no, just he is just an observer. He's just he doesn't get involved in he doesn't take it to himself, no, this whole thing. So material world, it's a plaything. No, the living entities are playing according to their own whims and wishes. And how many times, like, we will, the Lord will look into all these things. So when the living entity turns his face towards the Lord and then starts performing Krishna consciousness, then the Lord takes personal care. Then the Lord, would take personal care. Otherwise, he is udasinavat, as neutral. No, he is actually udasina, towards the activities of material world. Okay. Purport. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no engagement. In his spiritual world, he is always engaged. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Atma Ramasya Tasyati Prakritya na Samagamaha. He is always involved in his eternal, blissful spiritual activities, and he has nothing to do with these material activities. Material activities are being carried on by his different potencies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality is mentioned here with the word udasinavat. Although he has control over every minute detail of material activities, he is sitting as if neutral. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. He is, by his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into the jail, and someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth, but still he is neutral. He has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activities. In the Vedanta Sutra 2.134, it is stated, Vaishamya Naigrahanye na. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities, nor is he attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different forms and various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord doesn't interfere with them, right? So this is how, it's like the Lord is completely udasinot. Okay, text 10. Maya dakshe na prakritihi suyate satcharacharam hetunane na kaunteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So this is how the this one. It's a very very important sloka. Maya adhyakshena prakriti. So under my direction or under my rule is there. The prakriti is there, and suyate, no, manifest sa, that is both chara and achara. So chara means like that which is movable, and achara means that which is immovable. So all the movable and immovable properties. So in accounting terms also we have this thing, no, movable properties and immovable properties. No, all of them are no properties of the Lord. No, and no, it's fully controlled by the Lord. No, suyate sa characharam hetunane na kaunteya. Hetu means for reason, anena this, kaunteya, O son of Kunti. So because of this reason, Jagat Viparivartate, the cosmic manifestation is working. So the cosmic manifestation is completely working under the control of the Lord. It's a very, very important shloka. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Purport. It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the supreme will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that of all living entities in different species of different forms and species, I am the father. No, aham bija pratapita. The father gives seed to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti when there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. No, so this is a very, very important example that is there. So here, one important thing that we always tell is the Lord doesn't get involved in material activities. Right? So Lord is beyond the three modes of material nature. The Lord doesn't get involved in material activities. So then, how is he? How did he impregnate the material nature? So he did it by his glance. No, he didn't got involved in it personally. No, he just did it by his glance. So there is an activity that happened, but then it is no, it is not. It is not a way that no Lord got involved with material things. Lord just sent the spiritual entities into the material nature. That's it. So the example given here is fragrance of a flower. No, from a distance you can actually get the flower's fragrance. So your smelling power has touched the flower, but yet no, you are not in touch with the flower, right? So that's how the example is given. There is another example also in this connection to understand that the Lord is a father. So people may ask, like, where is the Lord in the picture? No, so many living entities are born every day and dying every day. Where is the Lord in picture? So one example that is given is the scorpion laying its eggs on rice. No, there is a particular word for this nyaya. So this is a logic. No, so this is the scorpion. It lays its eggs on a pile of rice. No, rice stack or something like that. And then it almost always appears that scorpions take birth from rice. No, so people think like that. No, sometimes like it's common, people they may think like that. So but then actually it is scorpion who laid its eggs in the stack of rice, and then the scorpion is born from there. So in the same way, the Lord by his glance, he impregnates all the living entities into the material nature, and then the living entities are born once in a while, like they keep like the based on the what is that based on the karma of the living entities, they take different births, but the originally Lord is the one who impregnated the living entities into the material nature. right? So in that way we can understand that. So he is the father, and yet like he is not in touch with the material nature directly. So these two very important principles about the Lord is mentioned here. So why such detail of the Lord's nature is necessary? In the third, fourth chapters of Bhagavad Gita, we saw the transcendental knowledge means to understand Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tattva deham punarjanmi naiti mam iti so Arjuna. This is actual knowledge. To understand the nature of the Lord, to understand the qualities of the Lord, to understand how He works, in this material world and in the spiritual world. So that's a very, very important knowledge. So by understanding the Lord and His divinity, we will get liberation, right? So that is why we are studying these aspects, why the acharyas are contending, saying that, oh, like Lord is the father of all living entities, yet he is not in touch with the material nature. So it's very, very important thing to understand for us. By understanding this, tyaktva deham punarjanmana iti mam iti so Arjuna. So it's very important to understand the divinity of the Lord's activities. Okay, so there is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is a similar connection? The flower's fragrance, the flower, and the person who's smelling the flower. So the process is happening, but still the person is not in touch. In the same way, the Lord is impregnating the living entities in the material nature, but still He is not acting in material nature. He is beyond the material nature, right? So actually, He has nothing to do with this material world, but He creates by His glance and ordinance. In summary, material nature without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot do anything, yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. He's the cause of all the activities, but he's no, like he's detached from all these activities. So he's not part of all these activities, right? So this is a very, very subtle aspect. We have to understand. Otherwise, many times people say, "Oh, there is so much of misery in my life." No, the Lord is a cause. I think the Lord has become enemy of me, right? So He wants me to suffer. That's why He is putting me into these kind of conditions. So, like basically speaking, no, that's not the case. The case is different. The case is like, no, the Lord is the controller. The Lord is the one who is awarding the punishments or sanctioning the punishments. But Lord doesn't have anything to give or take. So this is clarified in the example of the High Court judge. No, he is awarding some wealth to somebody, or he's giving a death sentence to somebody, and he's giving punishments and reward. So but he doesn't have anything to give or take in those things. He doesn't take sides. No, so that's how the this one logic is established. So in this way, the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes, and yet he is not part of the material activities. He is beyond the three modes of nature. So this is something that we have to understand. Okay, text 11. अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं param bhavamajananto mama bhutam maheshwaram. So if somebody doesn't understand this way the Lord, so he's called as muda or rascal or a foolish man, right? So avajananti, so not knowing. No, or avajananti means like deride, and mam, me, no. So manusam tanumashrita, so like this, the Lord has taken a human form of life, and he human form of body, and then he has come here to do his pastimes and things like that. So they don't understand the divinity of the Lord's nature. Hmm? So Lord is scolding them, saying that they are fools. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. Purport. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The Personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishvaras, controllers. Now, here the meaning of the Ishvara is given. Ishvara means controller. There are many Ishvaras or controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, We find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material world and spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha. And his body is Sachidananda, non material. Material bodies cannot perform wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Sachidananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge, absolute. This is confirmed in Vedic language as Sachidananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is eternal, blissful form of knowledge. Gopalatapani Upanishad. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tam ekam govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Sachidananda Vigraham. So, and your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. So, this is again from Gopaltapani Upanishad. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called as Muda. For only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss. That is the proprietor, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. Right? So this is a problem. So they don't know the divine nature of Krishna's appearance and activities. So no, they deride him to be a ordinary human being. Right? Nor do they know that appearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead in the material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. So it's not external energy. No, Sambhavami Atma Maya, right? So he is the master of material energy. As he has been explained in several places, Mama Maya Duratyaya, right? He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? A very, very nice question is put here. No, anyone who is devoted to Krishna, so they become purified of material consciousness. So that means his birth and activities are transcendental. No, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. If it is not Divyam, if it is not divine, so then how by meditating on Krishna's activities we become divine, right? So it's very important that to understand that his activities and his birth and activities are divine. And this same similar kind of a thing people ask, sometimes when people see the brahmacharis wearing saffron clothes and things like that, so they say that, Array, like, no, your God himself has so many girlfriends, no, why don't you like do anything like that? So then actually they don't understand that Krishna's activities with his intimate devotees are pure and divine. No, otherwise, no, why will people who discuss about Krishna's pastimes, if it is like, if it is something of very material degraded kind of activities what Krishna did, so then whoever is discussing about Krishna, their lust and material affection becomes more. But then we see that anybody who's devoted to Krishna, their material affection reduces, and then their lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, all these things reduces. No, that shows that he is divine. No, his activities and his birth are not ordinary, and he is divine completely. Right. So that's very, very important. Right. Okay. So, so this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness to think that he is having a material body like us. Foolish persons, however, cannot perceive that the personality of Godhead Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. So a very nice example for this is that if we want to see something, the spectrum that we can see is that there is a wavelength, the particular kind of wavelengths are there, so which we can see, and there are lower frequency wavelengths are there, and higher frequency like wavelengths are there, which we cannot see. In the same way, hearing also, no low frequency, no very, very low frequency we cannot hear, very, very high frequency we cannot hear. There is a range within which we can hear. It's always the case. No, we cannot see the minutest thing, and we cannot see the biggest of things. No, like it is mentioned that Mount Meru is the biggest of the mountains, and then it is in the Bhumandala, in the Jambudvip, the center core is the Mount Meru, and all the other planet, this one arrangement in the Bhumandala, it is like a lotus flower. No, if we see a lotus flower, there is a pericot, pericot, right? So I forgot the name actually. The yellow color stuff that is there in this center, and then there is so many leaves that are there, nicely, blooming lotus flower. So now, if we see, it's the Mount Meru is exactly like that. No, inverted conical mountain, and where the lower portion is small and the upper portion is big. So just like a center portion of the lotus flower. And all our planets are chutku chutku, small. It is there around the Mount Meru, and it is a so huge mountain, and it is described that it is like much bigger than all our planets put together, right? So then why are we not able to see that? So like the biggest of big we'll not be able to see, and smallest of small also will not be able to see, right? So atoms we cannot see, and Mount Meru also we cannot see. So this is the problem. So like then people understand when the Lord is also the smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. So but out of his costless mercy, he comes and appears in front of us, and the foolish people, they say like, oh, like no, ye Bhagwan nahi ho sakta hai. No, he cannot be God. So then it's a problem, right? Hmm. So actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is part. He is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his yogam aishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and the finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto Him and engage in Krishna consciousness, that is, devotional service to the Lord. There are many controversies between the impersonalist and the personalist about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative text for understanding the signs of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man. Although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary man, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani, Kritavan kila karmani, saharamena keshava, ati martyani bhagavan, gudak kapata manushaha. Right? Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked he performed many superhuman acts, right? So the Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudev and Devaki, He appeared with four hands, but after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child, means looking like an ordinary child, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, Babuva Prakrita Sishuhu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, also, it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of the four hands, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna was petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. So the Lord, whenever he wanted, he could display Chaturbuja, he could display the Vishwarupa. So all these things he could able to do, because it's in his capacity. So when such a person comes in the Manusham Rupam, and then he mingles with others, so we should not take it lightly. So it's not like if a big person comes and stands in comes in our assembly and things like that, we should not take him to be as ordinary, like us. So we should understand that he's big, and appropriate respect is supposed to be given, right? So he is capable of doing all these things. He can change his forms. Now the Manusham Rupam is one of his features. Chaturbuja Rupa is one of his features, and then the Vishwarupa is also one of his features. And some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutanam vastita sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in moving and non-moving entities as super soul, Charachara, right? So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archa Murti, the form of Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. Why this is there? Because in all the living entities, the Lord is situated as Paramatma, and he disrespects the living entities, and he worships the this one Lord in the temple very nicely. So then he is uselessly worshipping the Lord. Okay, there are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. There are so many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, he is all pervading as confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, and he is always staying there by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Goloka eva nivasati akilatma bhuto. Right? So this is one of the statements that is mentioned in Brahma Samhita. Goloka eva nivasati. Like no, it is mentioned he resides only in Goloka, no nowhere else. But still, Akilatma Bhuto, he is there in every sphere of this creation. Right? So then that way, it's inconceivable how the Lord can do this simultaneously, but he does it. Okay. Text 12. Moga shamoga karmano moga jnana vichetasaha Rakshashim Asurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Shritaha. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Right? So, purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, that is going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from the material entanglement will never be successful, either because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So, sorry, I didn't get the statement proper. Okay. Uh, Okay, let me read the purport again. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, that is going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from material entanglement will never be successful either. So that is, those people who are taking up to transcendental activities but not developing faith in the personal form of Krishna, them, that is like the impersonalist, and then the people who are fruitive workers, both of them cannot attain Krishna because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Okay. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demoniac or atheistic. So this is the qualification of being atheistic. Anybody who doesn't agree that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is atheist. No, Krishna Bhakta Bhave Daiva Ashurim Tad Viparyaya. So one who is a devotee of Krishna is Daiva or the demigod, and Ashurim Tad Viparyaya. Anyone else is Asura, right? So that's the qualification. So Vishnu Bhakti Bhave Daiva. So now we see that. The demoniac and atheist, like one who doesn't believe in Krishna is atheistic, he is demoniac, right? So sometimes this is like a very very heavy statement for people to hear in this world. Somebody may be like worshipping some demigods and things like that, and he may be known as a religious man in this world, but if by the definition of the scriptures he should be called a demon. So, and even in the scriptures, so even in the reference in the history also, it's the same. We see that Ravana was a great devotee, of Lord Shiva, but he is called as a demon. Why he is not called as a devotee? No, because you can worship anyone and everyone you want, but if you want to be called a devotee and not a demon, we have to be worshipper of Krishna. No, then only Krishna or Vishnu. So then only we become like no theistic, right? So otherwise it is atheistic. So worshipping any demigod is not theistic. Theistic means to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, one God. No, that's theistic, right? So nowadays the people actually bring about so many different names: polytheistic and monotheistic, and then so many different theism, like they bring about. But actually, theism means astikyam. No, theism means this one theism means like it is to understand that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead or Vishnu is Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's very very important. So astikyam, so it comes in the later in the Bhagavad Gita, this word astikyam. So like if we are not astikyam, then we are nastikyam, so we like no astikyam, so that is like this one atheistic, right? So okay, as described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, such demoniac miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedic literature, like the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads, is always baffled. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. The Brahat Vishnu Smriti clearly states, Yo Vetti Bhautikam Deham Krishnasya Paramatmanaha Sa Sarvasmad Bahiskaryaha Shrauta Smarta Vidanataha Mukam Tasyavalokyapi Sa Chelam Snanam Acharet. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. No, it's like very, very strict. This one is mentioned here, or like extreme. This one is mentioned here that if somebody is not accepting Krishna as Supreme Lord, or saying that Krishna's body is material and things like that, even if we see him, we should go and take bath and come. So it's like in this material world, everybody is like that. So that means every moment we should take bath. No, that's why we should every moment we should keep chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Otherwise, there is so much of contamination around. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demoniac family, demoniac life. Perpetually, their knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. Right? So, in this way, like the demoniac people, they regress, but then by the intervention of devotee, by creating auspiciousness in their life, they can take up to Krishna consciousness, right? So with this, we will stop for today. I have another meeting now. So thank you all very much for joining for this session. Grantaraj, sorry, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.